All right, so continuing on the Skype interview with Jesse Powell and the Advice Show. Um, um, I, one of the things that happened, which was kind of a surprise, was that a caller called in. It was Jesse Powell's show. He invited the Advice Show. A caller called in and was like something about mentioned that the Advice Show called Jesse Powell a coon. Jesse Powell, like I said, I feel that he's a little older and old fashioned. I don't think that he's been exposed to the word coon like that, or he didn't seem to get that coon is a word, a derogatory term used by black folks, usually used by black folks to talk about other black people that oppress other black people through views, politics, statements, whatever, things like that, something like that. But anyhow, so bear with me just a moment. I gotta sneeze again. Again for the first half. Okay, there it is. Okay, um, so he kept asking the Advice Show, well, um, what's your definition of a coon? The Advice Show was just like, a person that holds people of their own race down, you know, or whatever. And then he was like, well, do you consider, this person a coon? And then he was like, no, you can't consider that a coon because, it doesn't apply. And Divine Show didn't do a good job of letting him know that it's normally a black person because he was asking whether he considered this white person a coon because white person was holding black people down. But it didn't apply to that because, first of all, it's not of their own race. Second of all, he's white. It's a derogatory term used for black people. I don't think that Jesse about other black people that hold black people down. I don't think Jesse got the point that it's one requirement that you have to be black. It's a derogatory term for black people. And the Advice Show didn't explain it to him in a way because he said for people that hold other people down, now white people are people too. So you had to kind of tell him directly that it's a derogatory term for black people, that hold other black people down, usually used by black people. And so when you called him a coon, you were being a coon in doing that because your words are holding down another black person. And just like you said at the beginning of the Skype interview, what you said was very pertinent that you can't say this about a whole group of people or you can't say that about these people because it would kind of be ignorant to do that. You can't speak for all people, but you can't call somebody you can't call somebody a coon you don't know. Come on now. A lot of times when we say things that are derogatory about someone else, fate has a way of showing us that it's really true about ourselves. So that's why I like to be careful because I've seen it myself in the past couple of days. Everything that I said that I was just like, oh yeah, this, that, and the other, it came back to me, But it depends on the people and how susceptible they are to people's opinions, if it does or not. Well, anyways, again, coon is a derogatory term regarding blacks that hold other black people down. I'm trying to look at my notes. I said black, blah, 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 blah. For example, like nigger is a black derogatory term specifically for black people. So coon is a black derogatory term specifically for black people that hold black people down. Like cook, gook is a Korean derogatory term specifically for Korean people. Um, like honky is for a white person, spick is for a Spanish person. So a white person is not a spick, even though it's still the same vein of thought, derogatory term for a race, but it's not that race. Like a coon, it's not a spick. Like a coon is not a white person. Each term is directed at a specific race. For example, I'm a niggook, a nigger gook, whatever. Just joking. I wouldn't really. I'm just joking. It's not a big deal to me. And basically, what I saw from all this was Jesse. When I say Jay, I mean Jesse. Jesse was preaching unity of all versus division. Together we stand, we as in the human race, and divided we fall. And I was going back to saying common sense is. I already told you about how I felt about common sense. And then something was mentioned to the fact about the Advice Show being hard on black people. And he said that no, the Advice Show. He said that he was hard on black people, but from the questions that he asked you, and I agree with about Louis Farrakhan and what's his name, Barack Obama. You know, specifically Louis Farrakhan. That you know, you may be hard on black people, but how about famous, typically well liked black people? Are you hard on them? And this is what I was saying when I had talked about that video. Forget what video it was about some young girl that got shot down by some, you call them thug, hoodlum, whatever. You know, I mean, you can't call people out their name. You don't know them like that. You know, you can technically, but I'm just saying, if you're spiritually wise, you're not going to do that because it's going to bring everything down. People tend to live up and down to your expectations of them. You know, so if part of your thing is to educate, to mentor, to tutor through your, you know, and this is something, even if it's not part of it, this is definitely something that you do sideways and you don't even know it through your teachings online, then, I mean, you have to be mindful of that. People tend to live up or down to your expectations. You're creating more division by doing that. And the only reason I'm saying this to you, to the advice show, is because I feel that I can. I don't think that I would ever get anywhere, even trying to mention it to somebody like, so I don't even watch. It's just too much. It's too much garbage for me. I can't deal. And you're like the in between because you watch his stuff. And like you said in one of your videos, you watch his stuff and you look past all of that. You see what he's trying to get at, you know. And maybe being a woman, I'm too soft for that. You know, I can't, you know, because you hurt people when you say those nasty things. And from Tommy's view, I think that he does that because he wants to hurt, because you got to make people. I get his point too. He's like the Malcolm X and you're like the Martin Luther King. He's trying to get people agitated so they'll change. But you got to be careful, everything in moderation, because when you do that so much, people start being apathetic to it, and people start living up or down to your expectations. So it's a responsibility, you know, that you take. Um, then a white guy called in and he was like, "Oh, because I'm white, black people are not my family," you know. And the advice show addressed that very well. He made a very good point in saying that, you know, there's certain things that you're not gonna go through as a white person, no matter how much you love black people. True. Just like there's such things, you know, some things as a mixed person, you know, I obviously appear black mostly, but as a mixed person, that I'm not going to experience that a full-blooded black person would have experienced. Why? Because they grew up in a house with both parents being black. You know what I'm saying? With more exposure to black people. The only black person that I had exposure to growing up was my father and a little bit of my grandma and my aunt and my cousin. And when I say a little bit, I mean I probably seen him like maybe 4 times in my whole life. My dad, up until I was like 10, maybe I saw him. Okay. Now, I haven't seen any black people outside of that, except for what I saw on TV and in the hood, and I didn't really talk to them. You know, I had some friends that were black, but they were a different type of black, meaning I'm, and this sounds racist, and maybe it's, but we were in the same vein. You know, I grew up in a military town. Um, And then my exposure to black people and people wanting to be black was through the legal system. And that was not a good exposure. So, you know, I guess I play the the black part very well because, you know, I'm mimicking what I see, you know, from outside. I don't have no any knowledge about how black people really operate behind doors because I don't, you know, and I am a black person. I'm the way that you hear me talk and talking like this, just within the last 10 years, I started talking like this because, again, court order to homeless shelters, black people that's been in prison, black people that's been, you know, homeless, you know, the part of society that people try to brush over. I've been exposed to that. So when you hear me speaking that type of way, that's because of that, you know? So, y'all are not going to get it. But, so yeah. And I really liked that the Advice Show mentioned No More Bloodshed, featuring, I guess, Derek Muhammad. But it's so weird because if what Jesse was saying is true about Farrakhan stating something about stalking people and killing, you know, then his title, No More Bloodshed, should be just No More Bloodshed for Blacks because it seems like that's what it is. But again, like I said, my disclaimer from my other video that I made, you know, responding to, not responding, but you know, this is a reaction, not a response video, reaction video, is that I don't know everything. Never claim to, never will. And all that I speak is just based on my experiences, you know, because I'm not the advice show. I'm not Jesse, so I don't know, I don't really know what they feel, but I'm just telling my experiences and how it relates to me and what they say and how it affects me. That's all I'm doing. And much love to them both for even agreeing to coming together to do this. Much love to Jesse for pulling him in. I think he was trying to Christianize, super Christianize him, and find his viewpoints was a real thing because he saw the goodness in him that I saw as well. And I think the advice show came because he likes to keep lines of communication open and he likes to learn. That's what I think. And I was interested in all this because I've been a follower of the advice show for a while. I see two people talking about something, or attempting to intelligently, and because and I'm a fan of both now, and I got exposed to something new. So, kudos to both of you, and thank you so much for sharing your stuff.